Ladies and gentlemen, how's everyone doing? I am Trexis, and it's not really a DC Universe or Star Wars or even a Tribes video. Not even the movie Patrol. This is something that came up to me that someone asked a question, and I was able to reply on my phone, but replying on my phone was kind of rough, so I just bookmarked it, and so I wanted to bring it up in a little bit. I'm going to try to do a couple of Q&A stuff where people ask me questions, because people ask me questions all the time. I reply to them, but I feel that I know most of it's all inbox stuff, and I think sharing it video-wise would help out greatly with everyone. But this is not really a question, but a comment from Prince Interwemura. This is a comment posted on my how to play a mental controller. You call it real control. You can read the comment, but I'm going to read it too. I'm a mental villain, level 30, and my mentor is Joker. I don't like being a power healer. I like hitting high damage, and I do especially on bosses. But people say that I'm a bad controller, and I suck at restoring powers. Well, let's see it this way. Are you, probably a question I could probably ask, and I should have asked was, well, are you in controller stance when you're dealing all this damage? Because if you are, that's going to give everyone the look and feel of, hey, look, we have a controller, we're gonna have power out, yay! But oh, no power's coming out. Then why are you even why are you in controller role? Well, if you're in controller role and you're gonna actually do your abilities, especially with mental, because you're on my mental page, say you pretty much, I'm only can guess that if you have Psychic Blade, put it in your rotation. I understand you want to do high damage, but here's the thing about controllers when it comes to mental, hard light, or even gadgets. You guys don't have the 20% damage debuff that tanks and healer have. There have been numerous of controllers on the top end of damage charts in a lot of my raids. So it's not that if you want to do high hitting damage, that's okay, but it doesn't really hurt to have maybe Psychic Blades and oh crap, I think it's Psychic Resonance. I cannot the actual big power out move. I can't believe I forgot the name. I'm so sorry. But I mean, controllers can do high damage even with that. I mean, Psychic Blades is a great AoE because it tackles everyone in a frontal cone, and you give power over time. Now, if you're looking at stats wise, and you're just really buffing yourself up with might and precision and critical attack damage and all that stuff, well, then maybe being in controller role really isn't your thing. If you want to be DPS, then switch to damage role, I guess. It's really hard with controllers. Because if you're in controller stance and say you use Phantom Flames, well, you're going to actually give the boss the debuff for Phantom Flames. Alright, so but if you go into DPS, you're not going to be able to give that debuff. So even in controller role, you're debuffing bosses and you're debuffing mobs. That's still an amazing and awesome thing. Thank you for doing it. But also in controller role, if there's not another controller, especially in alerts, as the controller, it would be nice to actually give out power. So I mean, I know you have a loadout of 6 abilities. You could switch 2 of them out for Psychic Blades or even Telekinesis of that, and then the actual big power out, which I think is Psychic Resonance, but I might be wrong. I feel like I'm wrong. But I'm not going to call you a bad controller. I'm not. I haven't seen you play it. I don't play with you, so I really can't call you a bad controller unless I see you and it's like, hey, why aren't you giving out power? And it's like, yeah, big thing. But think of it this way: if you go into a match and you have a tank, and you feel that the tank isn't grabbing aggro, or a healer isn't really healing. Healer's actually a better example. You have the healer and the healer's not healing. You're gonna ask them, it's like, why aren't you healing? It's like, oh, I'm DPS. Then why are you even in healer stance? Because it's knocking down your 20%. Now, I ask in all my groups, because of the queue system, if we go in there with a controller, a healer, and 2 DPS, and one of the DPS is a fire, I will ask the fire, hey, fire guy, do you have any tank gear? And if he says no, it's like, all right, well, how about this? Healer, how good are you? Well, the healer might be good, might be pretty well. Or if even a fresh healer, it should be still good to go. It's like, all right, I'll even ask the fire guys, like, look, you can still roll on DPS gear, and of course, the tank gear is yours. But do you mind switching to tank roll and just helping us out? Now, of course, with the tank buff that we get while in the Q system, the damage mitigation helps out, and especially with having a healer, you really don't need to run with the tank, which I can't believe I even said that coming out of my mouth, but it's true. That's how people roll. That's how things get done. But I still play my tank, and I love my tank. But just understand that I'm not calling you a back controller. I'm not respecting anyone calling you a back controller. But if you are in control stance and you're not giving out power, but you are debuffing, then you're truly doing half the work of a controller. I do respect that you want to do hitting high damage and everything, but if you're going to do the high damage stuff, then you truly need to make sure you're in DPS stance. And if a group member asks you to switch your controller role to help out with power, then as a player, you are more obligated to say, hey, look, I am not a controller. I do not have that kind of stance. I am pure DPS. I will respect that. But in my groups, I will always ask the roles that we need. If there's a nature DPS, I will ask them, like, hey, do you have a healer loadout? I don't care if you don't have the gear. I really don't. Even a non-geared healer giving heals still helps out. Especially because that buff just does not do well, and people don't learn to block. Especially in PvE. No one blocks in PvE. But that's my feel of it. So, I mean, Prince, I'm not saying that you're a back controller again, but if you are in controller stance and you're still wanting to do high damage, I respect that, but switch to DPS stance so you don't confuse people and saying, hey, look, we have power outs, but you don't do it. That's where people get the misinterpretation, and that's where people hate you for it. So, this actually came in, this was a question came in last month, but I felt that he asked like nine questions, and it was really nice of him to ask because I answered to the best of my ability as well. It was a very long email, but I'm just going to tackle a couple of things because most of this is I'm trying to get through an actual video on all the roles to go over the strengths and the weaknesses, so to speak. So let's see this. First question: what's the difference between a tank and a DPS? Well, obvious. One is going to be in the front of the battle, taking all the aggro, and the other one's just going to try and kill it really fast. Who's strong? Fire tank, earth tank, ice tank, light tank. First off, I had to hit him a little bit for the light tank remark, but it's okay. I still love you. Fire, earth, and ice tank. They each have their own strengths and weaknesses. I'll be producing a video talking about that. This question actually comes up a lot. What's the best weapon you think is for a good tank? Well, I'm going to have to go with this. As a tank, you want to be in front of the battle. And you're probably asking yourselves, hey, Trex, but you use a bow. You're not really in front of the battle. Well, you are correct. I practically open up with Inferno. That's how I tank. I open up with Inferno, and then I just lunge in there. But, of course, I could lunge and then cast Inferno. It's kind of either or. But, as Super Patriot always says it, the bow is a great melee and range weapon. It's the best combination, especially when we have shields coming in as well. I've worked with shields a little bit on the PTR, and it works great. So, let's see. But any weapon, if it's a melee weapon, it will pretty much be a good tank weapon. You just have to find that tank weapon that drops, all right? You're not going to get... you might go into an alert, and you're not going to get the exact weapon you want. I mean, like my controller. I rather have my dual pistols, but I'm stuck with a one-hand. Do I use the one-hand? Yes, I am in the battle. I am right there on the boss, taking a couple of hits, and I'm getting right back out of that and just doing range stuff and building up my power so I can give power to everybody else. It's really hard sometimes. Let's see. What's more fun, ice tank or fire tank? I've been a fire tank since launch. I have played an ice tank to level 15 and dropped him completely. But you just have to. When I do my video on the tank rolls, I'll let you guys decide that, because I've seen a lot of ice tanks who love it and they hate fire, and I like fire and I hate ice, so it kind of hurts out a little bit. Let's see, and I think that's really it. So I'm really going to touch upon. There's one here. I know I definitely want to choose super speed. Can tank support that movement? Yeah. I mean, my fire tank is a speedster, so, and it works out for me. I mean, FOS 2 bridge does get a little hectic. I will put that on the Bible and say it does get hectic, but I have a lot of flyers in my league that I run with, and they always do fantastic stuff. But that's it. That's all the questions I'm gonna ask. I think I'm just gonna call this segment, "Hey, Ask Trex." If you actually want to ask me anything, you can definitely drop me. I mean, I read the comments, and I always try to answer the comments as much as I can. Please keep it constructive and non-inflammatory. I rather answer a question instead of having to read through bullcrap and figure out what you're talking about. Another thing, if you don't want to message me on YouTube, you can also message me on at Trexlight at live.com. It's my Hotmail account. I might make a Gmail. I don't know, but it's how I roll until I can get my server up and running. It's taking me a little longer than I thought. But again, if you have any questions on DC Universe Online, Star Wars: The Old Republic, or even Tribes Ascend, or if you just want to ask me movie patrol stuff, any content that I cover, or any content you want me to cover, just email me at Trexlight at live.com, or just inbox me on YouTube, and be sure to find me on Facebook and Twitter. I like Twitter. I like it a lot. I'm saddened it took me a while to get to it. But thank you all for listening, and I hope that the questions were answered a little bit. If you got more, please, you know where to find me. I'm on the internet. I'm all over the internet. Take care, guys.